Most people spend their lives believing that success is about adding more effort, more information, more connections, more activity. They assume that if they just do enough, someday things will fall into place. But the truth is, progress often begins not with addition, but with subtraction. Growth becomes possible the moment a person decides to eliminate what no longer serves their future. Successful individuals understand that not everything deserves their time, energy, or attention. They recognize that every unnecessary habit, every negative belief, and every distraction quietly drains potential. By removing what weakens focus, they create space for what truly matters. Clarity is not found by doing everything. It is found by doing the right things consistently. Elimination requires honesty. It asks difficult questions. What habits are holding me back? Which activities look productive but produce no real results? What beliefs am I carrying that were never mine to begin with? When these questions are answered truthfully, life begins to change. The path forward becomes simpler, not because life is easier, but because direction is clear. Many people are overwhelmed not because they lack ability, but because they lack focus. They are trying to grow while holding on to habits that belong to an older version of themselves. Successful people are willing to let go. They understand that you cannot reach for a higher level while clinging to what keeps you where you are. Elimination also applies to thinking. Doubt, fear, and excuses often feel justified, but they silently shape behavior. When these thoughts are tolerated, they limit action. When they are removed, confidence begins to grow. Successful people train their minds to replace unproductive thinking with responsibility, purpose, and long-term vision. Simplicity is not weakness, it is strength. When life is simplified, energy is concentrated, decisions become easier, progress becomes measurable by eliminating. The unnecessary, successful people turn their attention toward improvement, discipline, and personal growth. In the end, success is not about becoming more complicated, it's about becoming more intentional. When you remove what distracts you from your goals, you allow your efforts to compound. And once that happens, progress is no longer accidental, it becomes inevitable. Most people search for power in external things, better circumstances, more opportunities, the right connections, or perfect timing. But real power has always come from one place: personal responsibility. The moment a person accepts full ownership of their life, they step into a position of control. Until then, progress remains uncertain and dependent on forces outside their influence. Successful people understand that responsibility is not a burden, it is a privilege. It means recognizing that while you may not control everything that happens to you, you always control how you respond. When responsibility is embraced, excuses lose their grip. Blame fades away. And in that space, growth begins. Blaming circumstances may provide temporary comfort, but it permanently weakens potential. When a person believes their future is determined by others, they surrender their ability to change it. Successful individuals refuse to do this. They ask empowering questions instead of complaining ones. Rather than asking who is at fault, they ask, what can I do better? That single shift in thinking transforms problems into lessons. Responsibility also creates discipline. When you accept that your results are a reflection of your actions, your standards rise. You become more careful with your time, more intentional with your choices, and more committed to improvement. You stop waiting for permission and start creating progress. Action becomes deliberate rather than reactive. Many people avoid responsibility because it exposes areas that need work, but successful people see this exposure as an advantage. Awareness brings clarity, and clarity brings direction. When you know what needs to change, you can begin changing it. Responsibility turns confusion into focus and effort into results. Taking responsibility does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending life is fair. It means choosing strength over excuses. It means deciding that regardless of the past, the future will be shaped by intentional action. This mindset builds confidence, because confidence grows when you trust yourself to respond effectively to whatever life presents. In the end, responsibility is the foundation of personal power. It places control back where it belongs, in your hands. And once that happens, progress is no longer dependent on circumstances. It becomes a matter of choice, consistency, and character. Most people overestimate what can be achieved in a single moment and underestimate what can be accomplished through small, disciplined actions repeated over time. Success rarely arrives as a sudden breakthrough. Instead, it is quietly built through daily choices that seem insignificant in the moment but become powerful through consistency. The direction of a life is determined not by occasional effort but by everyday discipline. Successful people understand that motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes, rising with excitement and disappearing at the first sign of difficulty. That is why they do not rely on feelings to guide their actions. They rely on structure, routine, and commitment. Discipline becomes the bridge between intention and achievement. When discipline is present, progress continues even on the days when enthusiasm is absent. Daily discipline shows up in simple ways. It appears in the decision to prepare when it would be easier to delay, to practice when no one is watching, and to improve when there is no immediate reward. These choices may not feel heroic, but they are transformational. Over time, they shape character, sharpen skills, and build momentum. What successful people consistently avoid is neglect. They do not allow small responsibilities to pile up into major problems. They understand that what is ignored today becomes a crisis tomorrow. By addressing tasks early and maintaining standards, they protect their future from unnecessary struggle. Discipline also creates freedom. While it may feel restrictive at first, it eventually removes chaos and uncertainty. When habits are aligned with long-term goals, decisions become easier and stress decreases. Progress no longer depends on willpower alone, because the right behaviors are already in place. Many people wait for the perfect conditions to begin, but disciplined individuals start where they are. They work with what they have and improve along the way. Each disciplined action reinforces identity, turning effort into habit and habit into lifestyle. In the long run, destiny is shaped by what is practiced daily. Small actions, when repeated consistently, compound into extraordinary results. Success, then, is not a matter of intensity, but of persistence. When daily discipline becomes non-negotiable, long-term success becomes inevitable. Before any meaningful result appears in life, it first takes shape in the mind. Every action begins as a thought, every habit starts as an attitude, and every achievement is rooted in belief. Successful people understand that mindset is not a side issue, it is the foundation. What they consistently avoid is allowing negative, unfocused, or undisciplined thinking to control their direction. Most people react to life emotionally, letting circumstances dictate their attitude. Successful individuals choose a different approach. They respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. By maintaining control over their inner dialogue, they prevent temporary situations from creating permanent decisions. This ability to manage thoughts gives them stability in uncertain times and confidence during challenges. Mindset determines interpretation. Two people can face the same obstacle and walk away with completely different outcomes. One sees limitation, the other sees instruction. Successful people train themselves to look for lessons instead of excuses. They understand that every challenge carries value when approached with the right perspective. This way of thinking turns problems into preparation and pressure into growth. Another element they guard carefully is influence. Thoughts are shaped by environment, conversations, and information. Successful people are selective about what they listen to and who they learn from. They avoid constant negativity, pointless criticism, and distractions that weaken focus. By protecting their mental environment, they preserve clarity and direction. A strong mindset does not eliminate fear, doubt, or difficulty. It simply prevents these emotions from becoming decision makers. Successful people acknowledge fear without obeying it. They recognize doubt without feeding it. They stay committed to their goals even when confidence feels low, trusting discipline over emotion. Clarity of thought leads to intentional action. When the mind is focused, decisions align with purpose. Energy is no longer wasted on hesitation or comparison. Instead, effort is directed toward progress and improvement. In the end, success follows the path the mind creates. When thinking is disciplined, vision becomes clear. And when vision is clear, action becomes powerful. By mastering mindset first, successful people ensure the results eventually follow. Many people give up not because they are incapable, but because the process becomes uncomfortable. What separates successful individuals is not talent alone, but their relationship with discomfort. They understand that growth rarely feels convenient, and progress often demands persistence when results are not immediately visible. Instead of retreating when things become difficult, they lean in with patience and resolve. Short-term comfort is tempting. It offers relief, distraction, and escape from effort. But successful people recognize that comfort is expensive. It costs momentum, discipline, and long-term fulfillment. They are willing to endure temporary discomfort because they are focused on permanent results. This ability to delay gratification becomes one of their greatest strengths. Persistence is built on purpose. When the reason behind the effort is clear, endurance becomes possible. Successful people remind themselves why they started, especially during moments of doubt. Purpose transforms struggle into meaning and effort into commitment. Without a clear why, even small challenges feel heavy. With it, even great challenges become manageable. They also understand that progress is rarely linear. There are setbacks, slow seasons, and moments where effort seems unrewarded. Instead of interpreting these moments as failure, they see them as part of the process. They refuse to quit simply because the journey is uncomfortable or the outcome uncertain. Consistency, not intensity, becomes their advantage. Successful people avoid the trap of emotional decision-making. They do not let frustration determine their direction or fatigue dictate their future. They stay committed to their standards even when motivation fades. This emotional maturity allows them to stay focused while others become distracted or discouraged. Endurance builds confidence. Each time a person continues despite difficulty, they strengthen trust in themselves. That trust compounds over time, creating resilience and inner strength. What once felt overwhelming gradually becomes manageable through experience and discipline. In the end, long-term success belongs to those who remain when others retreat. When discomfort is accepted as part of growth and persistence becomes a habit, progress becomes inevitable. The ability to stay the course is not just a skill, it is a mindset that shapes destiny. Failure is often misunderstood. Many people see it as a signal to stop, a verdict on their ability, or proof that they are not meant to succeed. Successful people see it differently. To them, failure is not a final outcome, but a form of feedback. It is information, not identity. What they consistently avoid is allowing setbacks to define who they are or determine how far they can go. Every meaningful pursuit involves mistakes. Progress requires experimentation, and experimentation includes missteps. Successful individuals expect this. They do not romanticize failure, but they do not fear it either. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" they ask, "What is this teaching me?" That question keeps them moving forward rather than stuck in disappointment. What stops most people is not failure itself, but the emotional weight they attach to it. Embarrassment, fear of judgment, and wounded pride often hurt more than the setback. Successful people learn to separate emotion from evaluation. They analyze results objectively, make adjustments, and try again with improved judgment. This ability to learn without self-condemnation becomes a powerful advantage. Failure also builds perspective. Early losses prepare individuals for larger responsibilities later. Without difficulty, character remains untested and skills remain shallow. Successful people understand that resilience is developed through resistance. Each challenge strengthens decision-making, patience, and confidence. They also avoid quitting too early. Many outcomes look like failure only because the process is incomplete. Progress often requires staying engaged longer than feels comfortable. Successful people persist through uncertainty, trusting that effort combined with learning will eventually produce results. Another critical difference is that they do not repeat the same mistake blindly. Reflection turns failure into wisdom. When lessons are applied, mistakes lose their power to repeat themselves. Growth accelerates because experience is being used intentionally. In the end, success is not the absence of failure, but mastery over it. Those who learn, adapt, and continue grow stronger with every setback. When failure is treated as a teacher instead of a threat, it becomes one of the most valuable tools on the path to lasting achievement. Personal growth is not something that happens automatically with age. It happens intentionally through learning, reflection, and improvement. Many people assume that once formal education ends, development slows down. Successful people reject this idea. They understand that growth is a lifelong process, and what they consistently avoid is becoming mentally stagnant or comfortable with what they already know. The world is constantly changing, and those who stop learning are quickly left behind. Successful individuals stay curious. They read, listen, observe, and study, not because they are forced to, but because they recognize that knowledge sharpens judgment. Each new insight improves decision-making and expands perspective. Growth keeps them adaptable, and adaptability keeps them relevant. They also understand that personal development is not limited to skills alone. Character, communication, emotional intelligence, and discipline are just as important. Successful people work on who they are, not just what they do. They reflect on their behavior, adjust their attitudes, and refine their habits. This inner work strengthens their outer results. What many people avoid is the discomfort that comes with growth. Learning exposes gaps in understanding and areas that need improvement. Successful people welcome this discomfort because it shows progress is taking place. They see feedback not as criticism, but as guidance. Correction becomes a tool for advancement rather than a threat to confidence. Consistent growth compounds over time. A small improvement made daily can create a massive difference in the long run. Successful people understand this principle and invest regularly in themselves. They schedule time for learning just as they schedule time for work. This commitment turns development into a habit rather than an occasional effort. Personal growth also builds self-belief. When individuals know they are improving, confidence increases naturally. They trust themselves to handle new challenges because they have prepared for them. Growth creates competence, and competence creates calm under pressure. In the end, success rarely outgrows personal development. When growth continues, opportunities expand. By refusing to stop learning and improving, successful people ensure that their potential keeps rising and their future continues to widen. Many people live their lives chasing immediate pleasure, comfort, or recognition, believing that what feels good today will build a better tomorrow. Successful individuals think differently. They understand that lasting achievement requires the ability to delay gratification and prioritize long-term results over short-term satisfaction. What they consistently avoid is trading their future for temporary comfort. Immediate pleasures are tempting because they provide relief from effort, discomfort, or discipline. They feel satisfying in the moment, but they rarely contribute to meaningful progress. Successful people recognize that every choice has a cost even when it feels harmless. A single decision made today can either compound into opportunity or accumulate into regret. They choose carefully, guided by the question, what do I want most, and does this choice move me closer to it? Discipline is the key to navigating this tension. Successful people train themselves to act in alignment with long-term goals, even when it is inconvenient or challenging. They understand that consistency matters more than intensity, and that's small. Repeated decisions to favor the future build unstoppable momentum. Each act of delayed gratification reinforces character, patience, and focus, creating habits that serve them for life. Choosing long-term results over short-term pleasure also requires clarity of purpose. When the reason behind a goal is strong enough, discipline becomes easier to maintain. Temporary sacrifices feel meaningful because they are connected to something greater. Successful people anchor themselves in this vision so that fleeting temptations lose their power. Avoiding impulsive choices also means resisting societal pressures or comparisons. It is easy to give in to trends, opinions, or expectations that offer immediate validation. But successful people measure progress by their own standard, not by fleeting external approval. This allows them to stay true to their path without distraction. Over time, this mindset compounds. Small, intentional choices consistently favoring the future create advantages that others cannot easily replicate. Opportunities multiply, skills grow, and confidence strengthens. The cumulative effect of disciplined decision-making becomes the foundation of lasting success. In the end, those who refuse to sacrifice long-term results for short-term pleasure position themselves for extraordinary achievement. They'll understand that success is not built in moments of ease, but in moments of restraint, consistency, and purpose. By valuing what they want most over what they want now, they create a life that reflects vision, discipline, and lasting fulfillment. The path to success is not defined by luck, talent, or circumstance. It is defined by choices. It is shaped as much by what we refuse to do as by what we choose to pursue. Those who achieve extraordinary results understand that life rewards responsibility, discipline, growth, and purpose. They avoid blame, excuses, distractions, and short-term temptations. They embrace challenges, learn from failure, and invest consistently in themselves. Success is the result of intentional living. Every habit, every decision, and every thought compounds over time, creating a trajectory that reflects who we are becoming. It is not built on fleeting motivation or luck, but on clarity of vision, consistency of action, and strength of character. The things we refuse to tolerate, the unproductive behaviors, the negative influences, and the easy shortcuts are just as important as the things we actively pursue. When you commit to living deliberately, you begin to rise above mediocrity. Discomfort becomes a teacher, setbacks become lessons, and discipline becomes a lifestyle. Personal growth, focus, and persistence transform challenges into opportunities and obstacles into stepping stones. Ultimately, success is not a destination, but a reflection of who you choose to be each day. It is earned by mastering your mind, directing your actions, and refusing to surrender to temporary distractions or excuses. The life you desire is not something that happens to you. It is something you create, one intentional choice at a time. By understanding what not to do, by eliminating what holds you back, and by committing to what truly matters, you position yourself for lasting achievement, fulfillment, and the kind of success that cannot be taken away. Success begins with discipline, grows through learning, and is realized through the consistent choices you make every day.